Na mimi nashangaa kwa mitandao. Watu wanajitokeza, wanasema mimi nitakaa na Sky. Yaani watu wameanza kugaana watoto wangu jamani. Wameanza kugaana watoto wangu. Mama hayuko, sasa mnataka kunyang'anya watoto.
Ado, how are you? Naona nyinyi mnataka kuchapwa viboko. Ino social media, eyo ile imenyi. By the way, first of all, rest in peace Betty Bayo, because I am going to be talking about your family. Kuna hawa watu wanasema juu watoto walikuwa wameolewa na wanakaa majuu. Kwa hivyo vile ni kama huyo jamaa Tash huyo ni kama alikuwa ameadopt hawa watoto. Like mbona hii earring haingi? Oh, hiyo shimo iko hapo. Kashimo ni kadogo. Ni kama alikuwa ameadopt watoto. And I get the common misconception is that if you have married a woman with children, you think that those children now are yours. Chani kuambie. Adoption is a very involving process. You have married the mother. There is absolutely nothing that has happened in as far as the transference of parental rights. Kanyari still has full parental rights in as far as those children are concerned. And that guy has absolutely no standing in as far as those kids are concerned. Absolutely none. Unless he had done a formal adoption. And that formal adoption involves Kanyari relinquishing his parental rights. Are we together? Where he says, I am not going to be a parent to these children. Ever. Okay? I have stopped and the other person can now take over. Alright? So, by this guy talking and saying, watoto wakae na baba yake, he does not have a problem if the children was to stay with the father, that's actually a very mature person. We are not going to fight about children here. The children's rightful place is by the remaining parent. Whether you trust that parent or not, that is none of your business. Absolutely none of your business. Are we together? But if Betty and this man had done an adoption process where Kanyari had relinquished his rights as a father, to where those rights were then given to this man through a court process. It's a court process that does this. See elders. Si mutembe na hapo mudetermine ati sasa hawa watoto they are best suited to be. That's nonsense. In as far as the law is concerned, the rightful parent is Kanyari. Alright? And it does not matter whether these children have got status in the UK, whether they are citizens in the UK, whether they are what. If that Tash decides he is taking his flight and he is going to the UK, and he does not want to be encumbered with children that do not have their mother present in their lives, right? And the things that they have planned are not going to go in place, because I can foretell it's going to be a difficult adjustment process. It is. Okay? And so if he decides he's taking that flight and he's going back home and hataki watoto, hana watoto sio wake, anataka kurudi kama sasa amebaki ni widower. Right? There is nothing stopping him. And there is no shame in this world that you can bestow upon such a person to make them go lakini the children are better off wakiwa majuu, kwa sababu najua amezoea majuu. Baba yake aache kupreach apeleke hiyo majuu. Yes. Ama watoto wasomee Kenya. If the status is not statusing enough for them to have permanent stay in the UK, then too bad. This is how the die is cast, unfortunately. But let us stop this idea that adoption just happens because people sat down somewhere and they have decided, well, either you're the one who's going to raise these children, because as we look at baba yake, the father is not able to. So you just take the children and raise them. And now you over there, you're talking about, these are my adopted children. That's not how it goes. No. In fact, you people do not know that those children for your sister, those children for your brother, those children for who has died and they have been left as orphans, but they are the family's people responsibility. You're supposed to already be in communication with the children's department so that the children's department can assure their rights. So if you have gone and sat alone over there, that's a first step. You as a family, you sit alone and you decide Waithera is going to be taking care of child B. That is the first step where the family sits down and agrees. There is a further process where you go and decide whether you want guardianship. And so you're registered as a legal guardian of this child, where you are registered as the adoptive parent, depending on what is best suited for you. Because, do you realize that child for your sister who passed on, or for your brother who passed on, you cannot take a passport. So if you as a family want to take and travel, all of you, you cannot take a passport because there is already a death certificate that has been issued over them. When children have been left as orphans, there are processes the court has foreseen that need to be taken into consideration. For example, succession needs to have taken place so that if they are underage, the things that belong to these children can go and be locked away and zifungishwe, that there will be no land transfers in as far as these children are concerned. There will be nothing going on, that these children, when they are grown, they are going to be destabilized. Okay? So there are processes. There are people who are put in charge of these children, even that the court knows. Okay? If you're deciding you want to travel with these children, there is a procedure. Okay? There are people who sometimes you have to ask for permission from. Alright? When it comes to time for the ID, time your ID is simple. You just go pick up the death certificate, the nini, and you go present whatever documents you need to present, and then you get an ID. And then from then on, simtu ni mzima ni sawa. But when you're dealing with minors, it's a little dicey. So those things you're talking about are impromptu adoptions. Just because mimi nimeishi na huyu mtoto, ni mimi nimelea mtoto kutoka mtoto akiwa miaka 7. Yes, this is my youngest daughter. This is my youngest son. Yeah, they came my way through God. Yes. You know our sister. You know our brother. It doesn't go like that. That's not how it goes. Anyway, I have an entire thing about adoption. A whole explanation about how adoption happens, so that you can see the gravity of what adoption is in my profile. There's a whole topic, adoption in Kenya. Go there and go through those things. I probably have not dealt with kin adoptions, but I probably need to do a video about kin adoptions, because now this Kanyari case has brought about the need for us to talk about it. And again, November is National Adoption Month, and so we need to raise awareness as far as what adoption is and what adoption is not. All right? Those are agreements zimefanywa behind the tent za nani akae na mtoto kwa sababu mama yake amekufa, nani atasomesha watoto, sisi sote tuta contribute. Those are behind the tents, but they need to be formalized, and the children departments need to be knowing who is taking care of which children. All right? Yes. And I'm not saying that there are no oversights. We are in Kenya at the end of the day. Kenya has got loopholes all over the place, and there are so many children who get lost through holes. Okay? But there is a proper procedure of how things go. In case something goes wrong, things can just flow the way they're supposed to flow. Because we only happen to know what the law says when things go wrong, not when they are going right. Okay? Yeah. Kwa sababu kuna ile swali mtu anaulizangwa, huyu mtoto si yako na wazazi? Alikuja aje kukaa na wewe? Ndio hii ifanyike. Kulikuwa aje? Ulikuwa ukitesa huyu mtoto? What was the procedure that landed this child here? Does the government know? What right do you have to have this child in this home? Does the government know? Who's the case worker here? Why? Bye.